Some mysteries don't just baffle investigators, they haunt us. The kind that makes you triple-check your doors at night and question everything you thought you knew about the world. How does a person vanish into thin air? How does a plane full of passengers disappear without a single trace? And why do some crimes remain unsolved for decades, leaving behind nothing but eerie clues and endless speculation? The scariest part? Some of these questions may never have answers, but that won't stop us from trying to unravel them. From ghost ships drifting aimlessly to disappearances that defy logic, these 15 unsolved mysteries will burrow into your brain and refuse to let go. So settle in, because once you start, you won't be able to stop. Number 15. The Malaysia Airlines MH370. March 8, 2014. A routine flight from Kuala Lumpur to Beijing. 239 passengers and crew on board. Then, gone. Somewhere over the South China Sea, Malaysia Airlines Flight MH370 vanished from radar, rerouting in a way that defied logic. No distress call, no emergency signal, just eerie silence. What followed was the most expensive aviation search in history, covering thousands of miles of ocean. Years later, debris washed ashore on remote islands, hinting at a crash in the Indian Ocean, but the main wreckage, still missing. Theories range from pilot sabotage to hijacking, mechanical failure, or even a government cover-up. Some believe it was a deliberate act. Others think something far stranger happened. But until the plane is found, MH370 remains one of the greatest aviation mysteries of all time, one that left families with nothing but questions and the world wondering how, in an age of advanced technology, a massive airliner could simply disappear. Number 14. The disappearance of Brandon Swanson. It was a normal night in 2008 when 19-year-old Brandon Swanson left a party in Minnesota. Then everything went wrong. He accidentally drove into a ditch on a remote road but called his parents, assuring them he was fine and walking toward a nearby town. They stayed on the phone as he described his surroundings. Then, oh shit, the line went dead. His parents searched frantically. His car was found, but Brandon was gone. No signs of struggle, no footprints leading anywhere, no body, no evidence, nothing. Just an eerie disappearance that made no sense. Some believe he fell into a river or succumbed to hypothermia. But why did the sudden panic before the call cut out? And if something happened nearby, why was there no trace of him? Despite exhaustive searches, Brandon was never seen again. To this day, his disappearance remains one of the most chilling missing person cases in modern history. Number 13. The Yuba County Five. A night out with friends, a quick stop for snacks, then nothing. In 1978, 5 men from Yuba County, California, vanished without a trace after attending a basketball game. Their car was later found abandoned on a remote mountain road, fully functional with plenty of gas, miles from anywhere they were supposed to be. Months later, the bodies of 4 of them were found deep in the forest, some inside a locked trailer with food supplies they barely touched. One of them had lost 80 pounds before dying, suggesting he survived for months. The 5th man? Never found. Why did they leave a working car? Why didn't they use the supplies? And why were they in the mountains at all? Some say paranoia, foul play, or exposure. Others suggest something far more sinister. Over 4 decades later, their story remains one of the strangest and most disturbing missing persons cases ever recorded. Number 12. The Vanishing Wrecking Ball. Indianapolis, 1974. A 5-ton wrecking ball was hanging from a 200-foot crane, ready for demolition the next morning. But when the crew arrived, poof, gone. Not dropped, not stolen with heavy machinery, just vanished. No craters, no tire tracks, no break-in marks, nothing. A 10,000-pound steel sphere doesn't just disappear, right? Yet, here we are. Investigators chased every logical theory. Stolen for scrap, moved as a prank, misplaced, but nothing checked out. Who could move something that massive without leaving a trace? Some whisper about government cover-ups, time travelers, or even UFO involvement. Others just scratch their heads, baffled. The wrecking ball was never recovered. No one knows what happened to it. And frankly, how do you just lose something that big? A crime without a motive, a theft without evidence, and one of the most bizarre, unsolved cases ever recorded. And if that one broke your brain, wait until you hear this next one. Number 11. Kidnapped by Sasquatch. Most people go into the woods hoping to spot Bigfoot. Albert Ostman, he claims he lived with one. In 1924, Ostman set out into the wilds of British Columbia in search of gold. Instead, he woke up one night being carried away, still in his sleeping bag. Hours later, he found himself in a remote valley, face to face with a family of Sasquatch. He spent 6 days watching them, describing their behavior, their communication, and even their diet. Spoiler, they liked leaves and milkweed. Then he escaped under cover of night. Sounds insane, right? But here's the weird part. Ostman never changed his story. He never sought fame or money. And decades later, his descriptions matched accounts that surfaced long after Bigfoot became a pop culture icon. Did he hallucinate? Make it up? Or was he actually the first known person to be abducted by Sasquatch? Whatever the truth is, we'll probably never know. All right, guys. Now let's move to Number 10. The Flannan Isles Lighthouse Mystery. In 1900, 3 lighthouse keepers on the remote Flannan Isles off Scotland's coast vanished without a trace. When a relief crew arrived, they found the lighthouse eerily intact, lamps filled, meals half-eaten, beds unmade. The logbook described a raging storm, but weather records showed nothing unusual at the time. Even stranger, the final entry read, "The storm has passed, the sea is calm, God is over all." Then, silence. No bodies were ever found. Some say they were swept away by a rogue wave, but why would all 3 be outside during a storm? Others whisper about supernatural forces, sea monsters, or even ghostly retribution. Over a century later, the fate of the keepers remains an enigma. The lighthouse still stands, empty, its light guiding ships through the darkness, while its greatest mystery remains unsolved. Number 9. The Overtown Bridge. Mystery. Overtown Bridge in Scotland isn't just a bridge, it's a graveyard for dogs. Since the 1960s, more than 50 dogs have leaped to their deaths from the same spot, and hundreds more have survived the fall, only to try again. Why? No one knows. Some blame a scent, possibly mink, luring them over the edge. Others say high-frequency sounds drive them into sudden madness. Then there's the darker theory. The bridge is cursed. In 1994, a man threw his infant son off Overtown Bridge, claiming the child was the Antichrist. Paranormal investigators believe the location holds supernatural energy. Oddly, dogs only jump on clear days and are always from the same side. Coincidence? Maybe. But whatever the reason, one thing is clear. This is no ordinary bridge. Number 8. The Big Grey Man of Scotland. Forget Nessie. Scotland has a far more terrifying legend, the Big Grey Man of Ben Macdui. Unlike Bigfoot, this creature doesn't just lurk in the shadows, it stalks you. Hikers on Scotland's second highest peak report hearing heavy, crunching footsteps behind them. Some turn and see nothing. Others describe a towering, gray-skinned figure, at least 10 feet tall, watching from the mist. But most chilling are those who experience an overwhelming sense of dread, an unnatural terror that makes them flee the mountain in blind panic. Skeptics claim it's hallucinations from exhaustion, isolation, or altitude sickness. Others believe it's something far older, something still lurking in the peaks. Is the big gray man real or just a psychological trick played by the mind? Either way, one thing is certain. On Ben McDewey, hikers rarely feel alone. Number 7. The Lost Colony of Roanoke. In 1587, over 100 English settlers established a colony on Roanoke Island, off present-day North Carolina. 3 years later, they had vanished, leaving behind no bodies, no signs of struggle, just one cryptic word carved into a tree: Croatoan. Did they integrate with Native American tribes? Were they wiped out by disease or slaughtered by the Powhatan? Some believe they tried to sail back to England and were lost at sea. Others claim something far stranger: supernatural forces, ancient curses, even alien abduction. John White, the colony's governor, returned to find nothing but abandoned homes and the unsettling carving. He searched, but Roanoke settlers were never found. No confirmed graves, no DNA, no answers. For over 400 years, the lost colony has remained one of history's greatest disappearances. To this day, Roanoke's mystery stands as an eerie reminder of how entire civilizations can simply vanish. Number 6. The Disappearance of the Sodder Children. Christmas Eve, 1945. A fire tore through the Sodder family home in West Virginia. George and Jenny Sodder escaped with 4 of their 9 children. The other 5? Never seen again. The house was reduced to ashes, but there were no remains, no bones, no evidence the children had died in the fire. Experts insisted a fire that small couldn't completely cremate human bodies. Then more bizarre details surfaced. Their phone lines had been cut. The family's ladder, normally kept by the house, was found hidden in a ditch. A witness saw a man watching the fire from a parked car. In the years that followed, strange sightings and cryptic letters fueled rumors of kidnapping. A chilling photo sent to Jenny Sodder decades later showed a man resembling one of her missing sons. Were they taken? Did they survive? The truth died with the Sodder parents, taking one of America's most haunting mysteries with them. Number 5. The Dyatlov Pass Incident. In 1959, 9 experienced hikers set out on a trek through Russia's Ural Mountains, only to meet a fate that defies explanation. When they failed to return, a search party was sent, but what they found raised more questions than answers. The hikers' tent was ripped open from the inside, their bodies scattered in the snow, some half-dressed, barefoot, as if fleeing in terror. Some had crushed skulls and broken ribs, but with no external wounds. One was missing their tongue and eyes. No signs of struggle, no clear cause. Was it an avalanche? A secret military test? Some point to infrasound-induced panic, while others suspect something more bizarre. Paranormal theories and even alien speculation still swirl around this case. Despite decades of investigation, no explanation fully accounts for what happened that night in Dyatlov Pass. And the eeriest part? The Russian government abruptly closed the case, ruling it as an unknown compelling force. Creepy, right? Number 4. The Hinterkaifeck Murders. A brutal massacre, a killer who lingered, and a farmhouse that seemed cursed. Hinterkaifeck is the kind of story that keeps you up at night. In 1922, German farmer Andreas Gruber noticed strange footprints leading toward his house, but none left. He heard noises in the attic, found his keys missing, and even had a maid quit, terrified the farm was haunted. Days later, his entire family, him, his wife, their daughter, her children, and the new maid, were found murdered with a mattock. And here's what makes this case horrifying. The killer stayed. For days after the murders, neighbors saw smoke from the chimney. Someone fed the livestock, cooked meals, and made themselves at home, before vanishing without a trace. Despite one of Germany's largest investigations, no suspect was ever found. Was it a drifter? A former enemy? The case remains one of the most disturbing unsolved murders in history, and honestly, the thought of the killer lurking in that house? Nightmare fuel. Number 3. The Black Dahlia murder. Few crimes are as infamous or as gruesome as the murder of Elizabeth Short, better known as the Black Dahlia. On January 15, 1947, her body was found in a vacant lot in Los Angeles, meticulously mutilated. She had been severed in half, her blood completely drained, and her face carved into a twisted Glasgow-style smile. The eerie precision of the crime led many to believe it was the work of someone with surgical knowledge. The case became a media circus, with rumors, scandals, and wild theories spreading like wildfire. Hundreds of suspects were questioned, including doctors, actors, and even high-profile figures, but no one was ever charged. Some believe she was a victim of a serial killer, while others claim powerful people buried the case to protect their own. Fake confessions and conspiracy theories have only made the mystery darker. To this day, the Black Dahlia remains one of Hollywood's most disturbing unsolved murders. Number 2. The ghost ship Mary Celeste. A ship sailing the open ocean with no crew in sight, no signs of struggle, no distress calls, just an eerie silence. That's the Mary Celeste, a real-life ghost ship mystery that still baffles historians. On December 4, 1872, the Mary Celeste was found drifting in the Atlantic. Everything on board was untouched, food in the kitchen, cargo intact, personal belongings left behind. The only thing missing? Every single crew member. The ship's last log entry, written 10 days earlier, gave no hint of trouble. The lifeboat was gone, but there was no evidence of a storm, mutiny, or pirate attack. So what happened? Did they abandon the ship for no reason? Was it a rogue wave? A sea monster? Even theories involving alcohol fumes causing mass hysteria have been thrown around. But with no survivors and no wreckage ever found, the fate of the Mary Celeste remains one of the greatest maritime mysteries of all time. Number 1. The disappearance of Frederick Valentich. On October 21, 1978, 20-year-old pilot Frederick Valentich took off from Melbourne, Australia, for what should have been a routine flight over the Bass Strait. But what happened next is something straight out of an X-Files episode. Mid-flight, Valentich radioed air traffic control, describing a mysterious metallic object hovering above him, flashing green lights. He reported it moving erratically, almost toying with him. Then his voice grew frantic. His engine was failing. His last words? "It's hovering, and it's not an aircraft." Then a loud metallic scraping sound. Silence. He was never seen again. No wreckage was found, no distress signal, nothing. Authorities suggested disorientation or engine failure, but UFO enthusiasts have other ideas. Some believe he was abducted. Official reports remain inconclusive, and his final transmission continues to fuel one of the most chilling UFO-related disappearances in history. If you've enjoyed this video, like and subscribe. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you soon.